This podcast is brought to you by AC Lighting, world-class products with world-class service. aclighting.com.
Hello, everyone. We'll get to the podcast in just a few minutes, but first I have a special guest who is here to tell us about the Philo Conference. Please welcome to the Tech Arts Podcast, Todd Elliott. Hey, Todd.
Hey, how's it going, David?
Todd, I know there are a ton of reasons why someone should attend this conference, but what is the one reason why you think they should attend Philo?
My favorite reason for people to attend Philo is we're working all year long, doing events for other people, and we rarely ever get a chance to sit and receive and absorb. And Philo Conference is really a great opportunity to sit in a seat, to participate in worship like a normal person, to be able to hear a message that's geared directly for us. And I think doing that all in community with a bunch of people that are just like you. They have the same challenges as you. Most of them are wearing black too. But to be in a community of people and worshiping together, such a joy for me to be a part of.
Yeah, Philo definitely does that. It brings a lot of community. There's a lot of great teaching, too, that happens, and I know there's some breakout sessions. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so we have 8 breakout tracks: audio, video, lighting, leadership, systems, content creation. We had an advanced track and a basic track, and these are all taught by people that are doing church production. They're in the trenches just like you are. They're using the Blackmagic A10 Mini in their church, they're going to show you how to use it, kind of an idea. And I think one of your guests on the podcast recently, Brian Bailey from Prestonwood, he's one of our track leaders and is helping curate the advanced track. So all the kind of cutting edge, forward thinking things that we want to know about, there's a whole track of classes about that.
If you want to bring your team to experience not only community, but excellent technical classes and breakout sessions, you need to come to Philo. The Philo Conference is the perfect place to feel connected to people who get you and want to see you succeed in this noble calling of Philo. Make sure you attend Philo 2025. Register now by going to philo.org. You don't want to miss this conference.
Earthworks Audio is a proud sponsor of the Tech Arts Podcast. From front of house to center stage for over 25 years, Earthworks microphones have sculpted the sounds of your favorite concerts, venues, and performances. Capturing emotion with sound. Earthworksaudio.com.
This is the Tech Arts Podcast, where we talk about tech, leadership, and all things that concern church audio, video, and lighting.
Welcome to the Tech Arts Podcast and the Earthworks Audio Studios. My name is DL. So glad to have you joining us today. Before we jump into the podcast, I want to say a special thank you to Digico for sponsoring the Tech Arts Podcast. You have been a loyal partner over the years and have helped this podcast become the success it is. Speaking of success, our YouTube channel now has over 30,000 subscribers, and we routinely hit 60 to 70,000 views. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe today. For all of those listening to us on a podcast outlet, you need to follow or subscribe so you get notified right away when a new podcast drops. Have you ever struggled with finding the right microphone for your drum kit, choir, or vocalist? Well, then you don't want to miss today's special segment with Earthworks Audio. I'm not going to give away what we're talking about, but I will tell you that it is a game changer when it comes to your microphone toolkit. Plus, the Paragon Angle bonus segment unpacks more knowledge to help you become a better tech director. All of that is coming up in just about 20 minutes. But first, on today's podcast, we have a technical and video producer from Hope Fellowship Church in Frisco, Texas. She began her journey in production at the age of 16 and has been growing in the field for over 10 years. Her passions include video, content creation, live directing, and training volunteers. Please welcome to the Tech Arts Podcast, Willow Hodge. Hey, Willow.
Hey, Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Frisco, Texas, huh? That church is the home of the Cowboys. A lot of people think Arlington, but that's where the Cowboys are at. I'm a big Cowboys fan, too, so a little jealous you're that close to them.
Yeah, but we're very close. I mean, we have the Star. We have all the Cowboys headquarters over here. It's great.
Yeah. Are you a Cowboys fan?
I am. I'm not the biggest sports fan, but I mean, I'm from Dallas. My dad's a huge sports Cowboys fan, and so who else am I going to root for? Even though they let us down every year, it's still like, yeah, this is our team.
Yeah, I've been a Cowboys fan since the 90s, so I'm 30 years going on of no wins, but hey, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is, yep.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who do you lead as a team? Tell us about your church and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm from Hope Fellowship, which again is in Frisco. I want to say I started in this role in 2018. I came on staff. I was pushing faders at the time, running classrooms. And I want to say it was about a year later, I moved into the video world at our main broadcast campus. I always like to joke it was against my will because it wasn't what I had planned, but God and my boss knew a little bit better than I knew at the time. But I started in the video world 2019. For a while, I was just thrown in as the video producer, not knowing a ton about video and being told to just kind of pick things up as I go. I actually was required to write down a list of all the things that I didn't know, which is hard when you just don't know what you don't know. And then I was told to just kind of learn from there. But in my time doing that, I was sitting down watching our video broadcast team at the time, which was all volunteer ran. So we had 3 volunteer directors, I want to say maybe 10 volunteer camera operators, a mix of students to those retired, everybody in between. And I was just kind of thrown into this world, very brand new to me, and I had to learn very, very fast. So as time went on, I kind of learned what it looked like to be a director, and I said, you know what, I want to sit in that seat. I want to try this. I think this is something I would really, really enjoy. And when COVID shut down the churches, it was the biggest time for us to do kind of a flip in how we ran our iMag at the church campus. And especially because we had been running online services a very specific way for a while, we wanted our in-person experience to kind of match that. So when we opened our doors back up, I kind of started in this brand new role of leading that team. It was, okay, I spent the past few years learning, writing things down I didn't know, learning those things. And then I sat down in that seat and it felt like starting fresh. Some of our volunteers came back, not all of them came back. We had new interests, and from there we just kept the ball rolling. We reset a vision, we recast a vision of who we wanted to be and who we wanted to continue to be. And since then I've been growing in that role. Now I'm leading a team of we run about 10 volunteers a weekend, but I think the pool I have to choose from is about 25 volunteers when we're working through the schedule. So it's grown quite a bit. But again, it was not where I imagined I would be when I first came on staff in 2018. But it's been the best blessing, and I've absolutely fallen in love with it.
Yeah, it's kind of how the Lord works, right? You think
Absolutely.
You know where your life's going, and then he kind of takes you in a different direction, and there's blessings that come from that. When we were doing the pre-interview, Willow, we kind of hit on a subject. It was the technical instruments of worship. And a lot of people may be asking themselves, what the heck does that mean? So let me ask you this question about it. Do you see tech gear as an extension of worship similar to a musical instrument?
Absolutely. Right off the bat, yes. And I mean, the same way you would look at it is there's a guitarist who is the artist, and then there is the guitar, which is his artwork. And it's kind of the same thing. Camera operator is the artist, the camera is the artwork, and what you produce from that is the artwork, right? So it's kind of, you look at it the same way. One person may be facing the stage and the other's facing the audience, one way or the other, but it's the same concept. It just looks a little bit different.
They're playing an instrument. We're playing an instrument. Ours just happens to be an audio console, in your case, a video switcher, lighting console. But inside of that, what would you say to someone who believes that the tech, distracts from worship rather than enhances it. And so here's what I mean by that. I'm seeing this a lot out there on on social media. I almost said the social media, like my dad, the internet. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, hey, churches, they don't need all of this tech. They don't need it. And so as someone like me who espouses to what we think it is, an instrument of worship, a way to worship our Lord just through, instead of a guitar, through the sound console, what would you say to someone who believes that the tech is just distracting worship instead of enhancing it?
Yeah, I think it comes down a lot of the times to preference. You think of it, some people don't like contemporary worship and believe that worship should look one way. It's kind of the same way with tech. I came from a church. I grew up in a church that ran 2 gyps. And then when I came on staff, we don't run gyps. It just looks different for where you're at, whether it's considered distracting or not. However, I do believe that tech is an extension of worship because you're helping the people in the back of the room who can't see the stage. You're helping them to engage in that and the act of worship. When you're using your craft, it's like the guitarist or the singer glorifying God through their craft. It's the same thing when you run a camera or you push faders or you run lights. Whatever it is an act of worship. And so though some people may believe that these things are distracting and there's no need for them, it all comes down to the heart and the why behind what we do, why we do what we do. And that is what makes it kind of acceptable in this realm of, you know what? Some people may think this is distracting. However, we are here to serve and to worship through the act of it. I mean, we need each other. Worship and production need each other. We are one team. We are doing the same thing. We're using both sides of it, both sides of worship to worship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I visit a lot of churches. One thing that Digital Great Commission Ministries does is we go and do free assessments for churches. So we'll come in free of charge and just kind of look at what's going on. And there's such a divide in a lot of churches between what we'll call the worship team, which is on the platform, and the worship team, which is behind the scenes. There's such a divide there. They're not communicating. They're not working together as a team. So when that happens, is it a mindset thing? Is it a mindset between the two different areas that needs to come together?
Yes. So I'm no stranger to this. In fact, when I first came on staff, we didn't have somebody in place that was uniting both our worship team and our production team. They were 2 very, very separate departments, and they acted as such. There was a little bit of pride when I first came on. And again, it was nobody's fault other than we didn't have the proper leadership in the position at the time to unify us. And so natural tendencies, natural human habits slip in and, oh, I'm right about this, or no, I'm right about this. And there was a pride for a little bit. But then when we hired our head worship and production pastor, who is one over all of us, it was, hey, we're going to turn into one department and one team because we are. And thankfully, it was such an easy switch, but it did take a huge mindset swap of, guys, we're going to lead with yes, and we're going to serve each other. And it's not just, sometimes it can feel like, okay, production, your whole job is to just serve worship. No, it's about we are serving God together. So it is, we're going to serve each other because we're both going to model who Jesus is. And then in that, we're also going to worship and glorify and serve our Lord. And so it is a mindset swap. And sometimes it just takes putting down the pride of always being right, or no, I'm going to take the easy way out and do this, even though worship wants to do this. Instead of saying, oh, we're 2 different departments, it's, hey, we're all here for the same mission. Let's work together in that. And in that, let's model Christ and serve each other.
Let me ask you this. Your team, how do you impress on them that they're leading worship versus just a service department that's running gear?
So one thing that we do is we start by setting the foundation. And the foundation for us is taking the church's mission and building off of that. So for us, we start with our mission, which is inviting everybody to find Jesus and help them move to the center of God's purpose for their life. So when we take that church mission, we then build upon that. It's okay, so what does it then look like to run a camera or lighting or slides or audio? What does it mean to do that in relation to our mission? and it's inviting people in. We are serving because we're modeling Jesus, and in serving, we are then also worshiping. And so I think when we start with that and we establish that foundation, it starts people with a mindset of, oh, I'm not just here to run a camera because it's fun. I'm not just here to click the slides because it's something easy behind the scenes. It's no, we are a part of the greater mission of the church. And so I think when we start with that, it does establish a firm foundation of who we are as a team and a department. And then it comes to living it out, which is the other side of it. We can say things all day long, but if we're not, as leaders, modeling it, then our volunteers are going to pick up what we model. So a lot of that comes to, we lead with yes. And sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes things don't work out, but we want to be a department and a team that leads with yes. Leading with yes means, how can I serve you? If somebody comes to me with a request, whether it's a pastor or a worship leader or whoever it may be, let me serve them to the best of my ability. And we found that when we start to lead and serve that way, it is glorifying God, and it's showing who we are as a department and a team. And then at the same time, we also establish good practices for our volunteers of, hey, I know when you run a camera, it may feel like you're doing a lot, or you have your hands on something a lot, but we also want this to be an experience where you're also receiving and worshiping. And so for us, we require our attendees, please go listen to a message. Even when we are running slides or running the message, we're engaging with it back in the AVL room. Our pastor says something good, we'll say something about it out loud. We're constantly just involved in that atmosphere, constantly, so that we're just kind of living out the mission and modeling it for our volunteers. And I'll tell you, one of the best things to see, and I saw it this past weekend, was a camera operator in the back of the room who's running a camera, and when she's not live, she has her hands up worshiping. She's just living it out, and that's what we love to see that.
Yeah, we say instrument of worship, and a lot of people instantly run to the gear, but I think we're an instrument as well. And your mission and your vision of saying, hey, it's about our attitudes, that is a big part of the instrument of worship that's happening in the room and how we're doing things. And it's really kind of cool when we adjust our attitude, even when you don't have all the money in the world to buy the best gear, the worship service turns out better. When you have a horrible attitude, you can have millions of dollars to buy the best gear in the world, and it just feels like a colossal waste when it comes to the worship service. It's just, why is everybody struggling? They have all this money and all this gear. It's because of the attitudes. We are a part of that instrument of worship. But let me ask you this, Willow. Have you ever had a moment where you tangibly felt God move through the tech in the service? I mean, you just talked about somebody in the back of the room with their hands up, but I'm talking more like really tied in with the worship experience and what you're seeing on the faces and those in the room. Have you ever felt that moment at your church?
Yeah, so let me actually go back to a moment when I was an attendee and what that was like. So I kind of setting this environment up. I grew up in a big church in the Dallas area, and for me at a young age, I felt that production was a love language. It was almost like a team had taken the time to cultivate something amazing, and it just felt like an act of love, an act of service. And from a young age, I was able to feel that. And we all have probably had experiences where production can become distracting. Something goes wrong, the lights don't come up, you lose video signal, you have a high ring in one of the mics, whatever it may be. But there have been times where it has been cultivated so well. We've been in a worship service. I remember when I was a high schooler and I started production in high school. I believe it was my senior year at summer camp, and worship was absolutely incredible, of course, but it was the way it all came together to be something so intentionally beautiful that, of course, I was sitting there worshiping the Lord, but it was also just the fact that people had taken the time to create an atmosphere and environment. It was a love language that God had poured into the hearts of those individuals that then programmed it and made it happen. And to me, I just felt I felt this love. And I know if I have felt that love before, that there have been others out there who have also felt that and seen that. And then there have been moments at our worship nights when our team has put so much and poured so much love and care into the projects. And it doesn't even have to be perfect, but it's when God uses us as the instrument and is able to then pour out that love and the talents and the gifts that he's given us to give to others. It's all service. It all models Jesus and who he is. And those moments have been very special in placing me where I'm at in production, because I've felt that love before, and I want to be part of that and used in that field by God to communicate the same love to others.
Yeah, I like to tell churches this: whether you're small or big, those moments don't happen on Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. They happen during the week as you're leading up to Sunday morning. And whether you're a volunteer or a staff member, it's about focus and intention on what you're about to do on Sunday that really opens your hands to create an atmosphere where the Lord can come in and move. And I think a lot of churches think it just happens on Sunday morning. You know, we come in, we do our jobs, and everything's great. But no, it's what happens during the week. And during the week is about leadership. And so, Willow, how do you lead your team spiritually as well as technically? Give us some examples with that.
I think those opportunities come up way more than we realize it. Week to week, we're inviting a group of volunteers to come in, and this then makes up our team. Something as small as asking somebody how their week went and starting that conversation can open so many doors to lead others spiritually as well. So from those small conversations where it could be easier to, we do our run through and then we kind of just separate before service. There's something so great about that time in between to go connect with our people and talk to them. And you never know where that's going to lead, what conversations may come from that. People walk through the doors every single weekend and you have no idea what had just happened to them before they showed up. They could have gotten in a big fight with a family member, their spouse, or maybe walking through something medically. We just don't know until they're there. And I think we're given a unique opportunity where we are working with technology, but we are still working with people, and we're still working with the hearts of people. And if we forget that, it could be so easy to forget that we're also spiritual leaders as well. Another way is that we stay involved during our services. It's not just, the sermon's up, I can just get on my phone and be distracted. It's no, we're going to engage with this because we believe in this. As leaders, we want to model that for our volunteers as well. When we have our Saturday, we meet up on Saturdays. Our services are structured a little different, where we have Saturday and Sunday service, but we meet up on Saturdays. Worship and production, we do a little talk through, but then we go through, and if anybody has any prayer requests, we pray for people in our team, and we model that well. I think it's just living out the mission is a big part of it, and not just saying, oh yeah, we believe about it and then moving on. It's okay, we definitely are here to do a task, but at the same time, we are people and we care about these people too. So just as much as we care about having an excellent service, we want to care about the people that are leading and running those excellent services. Yeah,
assumptions can also kill how you lead spiritually. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when you work for a church or you're a volunteer leader at a church, the person comes in to volunteer on your team and are you a Christian? Those questions are asked and they say yes. But we assume so much about people's lives that we don't understand where their walk is. They may be a baby Christian. They may be a Christian for 10 years that doesn't really believe in God anymore. And so I say, don't assume, ask the tough questions, be involved in your people's lives. And it doesn't mean going to dinner with them every week necessarily, but it means understanding where they're at and what's going on in their life. That'll help you lead spiritually as well as technically, because if you know somebody's really struggling with something, just like it's tough for a worship leader to get on the platform and sing when they're going through a tough time, it's tough for a technical person to run camera or to switch or to run audio when they're going through some tough things in their life. And so that will help you lead if you get rid of the assumptions. A lot of times I'll say to churches, have different levels, have your entry level, have your leadership level, have your high spiritual level of leader. And those will also allow you to track people as they move forward when they're coming first in, and say your entry level is running camera. Yeah, that's a little bit of a lower bar for spiritual leadership. But if they're running audio, that's a little bit of a higher bar because people are looking up to them. But getting rid of the assumptions about people when they say, I'm a Christian, and we just assume everybody's perfect, which is what happens. Oh, he's a Christian. She's a Christian. So yeah, everything's great. No, there may be some tough things going on in their lives, and that'll help you lead spiritually as well as technically if you can get rid of those assumptions.
Again, like you're saying, we've had people from those who barely believe, but we're still welcoming of them because that's just a part of the walk of faith, to people who have been long time, very, very deep in their faith believers. And it's not like one is more important than the other, but it's, you kind of know how to have different conversations with the different groups. And you know, okay, this person is at this place in their walk. How can I best have a conversation with this person versus this person? And it looks different, but it also just means taking the time to know and understand your team and where they're at.
We will jump back into the Tech Arts podcast soon. Right now, let's hear about mic techniques with Earthworks audio marketing manager, Nick Canovas. Hey, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Nick, on today's segment, we're talking about how to make drum miking easy for your worship service. Drums have always been a microphone topic. How? What mic? How many? What say you when it comes to miking your drums?
Well, you hit the nail on the head right there. There are so many different elements to miking drums, you know, the drummer that's playing, the drums that you have, all of the gear surrounding it, that it can be quite a lot at times, and it can be a little bit overwhelming and a lot to keep track of. And so we offer 2 different drum mic packages that really make that work a lot easier. The first kit we offer is the DK7. It's been around for a couple of years, but we just recently launched the second generation of it. It includes 4 DM20 tom and snare drum microphones, 2 SR25 Gen 2 overhead microphones, and then 1 DM6 kick drum microphone, which just recently won a Tech Award. The second kit we offer is the DK6. That includes 3 DM17 tom and snare drum microphones, 2 SR20 Gen 2 drum overhead microphones, and like the DK7, it comes with the DM6 for kit.
That's awesome, man. You know, the DM6, I've heard this, and you guys say this on your website, and it's true. It's perfect right out of the box for those situations when you don't have enough time for a proper sound check, or you have volunteers who are just putting the mic on it and rocking and rolling. It's just a great microphone, very versatile. It has flavor to it. It's a really nice sounding mic. But tell us a little bit about the DM17s. You could put those on toms and snares, right?
That's true. And in fact, the development behind that microphone was our SR117 is primarily meant for vocals, but we found engineers who were using it as a snare drum microphone, and they were getting phenomenal results with it. So we took a lot of the same elements from the 117 sound signature, but then we packaged it into a microphone that is tailor-made for toms and snares. So it has a rock-solid, rugged body, so you can hit it with a stick any amount of times you want, and it'll still sound great. And it also comes with one of our new RM3 rim mounts, and it's so easy to use. It takes seconds to just put it on your drum, and then it will stay there, it will lock in place, and you won't have to worry about moving it again.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times you're fighting with the mic stand to get it into just the right place, and you guys have the kit that just lets it land right there on the drum. Perfect placement for perfect sound. So thank you for talking to us about those microphones. For more information on Earthworks Audio, go to earthworksaudio.com. Earthworks drum mics sound like you're in the spotlight and make it easy for all applications, whether you're in the studio, on the stage, or streaming. Think earthworksaudio.com. From sold-out stadiums to intimate live performance venues, sound engineers agree on one thing for the best digital mixing consoles for live sound. The only name that matters is Digico. As the recognized worldwide standard for live audio mixing, Digico consoles are renowned for their industry-leading sound quality and ease of use. Whether your application is in a church, broadcast, theater, corporate, sports, or installed sound, Digico offers compact and affordable products, from the S21 all the way up to the pioneering power of the Quantum 852. Digico delivers the workflow, the feature set, and the absolute reliability that the world's biggest tours and programs have come to rely upon. If you're looking for a sound console, look to Digico for your answer. For more information on Digico, go to digico.biz. That's digico.biz. Right now, let's hear from Paragon 360 and the Paragon Angle.
Are you one of the many that thinks Paragon only tackles massive multi-million-dollar projects? Well, don't believe everything you hear. Hi, I'm Donnie Bronner, owner and CEO at Paragon 360. Welcome to the Paragon Angle. Today, we're going to squash the rumor that Paragon only does large projects. While we're known for large-scale multi-million-dollar renovations and cutting-edge AVL installations, we also complete between 25 and 40 projects a year under $300,000, bringing the same expertise and efficiency to churches of all sizes. So what projects do we want? We love projects where we can bring value. Some have called us with the opinion that they can't afford us because of the fact that we do these big projects. However, the only thing that makes those projects cost millions of dollars is the size of the spaces and the types of equipment that a large space requires or that the client is requesting. Some clients want absolute top of the line and they can afford it. We believe our design-build model actually provides as much or more value to small churches as it does larger institutions. Smaller churches could face the risk of fading away completely if they don't make changes soon. Many smaller churches don't have the resources that many of the larger institutions have. Many small churches can't afford the traditional fragmented approach to renovation, which involves multiple contractors, architects, designers, low-bid integration firms fighting with each other, as well as months of renovation downtime, and the blame game change order process that follows. Does any of that sound familiar? At Paragon, we offer all of our clients, regardless of size, the ability to get audio, video, lighting, ETCP certified rigging, acoustics, custom fabrication of scenic architectural theming elements, interior design, seating, and general construction, all from one contractor as opposed to 10. For those looking at complete room renovations, our prefabrication model is a game changer, especially for smaller churches. The process where architectural infill treatments are manufactured in a controlled environment and then transported to the job site as a modular component saves significant time and money. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from a recent client.
I feel Paragon is a great option for a variety of churches, large and small. I think the return on investment with Paragon is very, very high. And I think that Paragon does a great job of maximizing the money and giving us a great value for what we're spending. So pleased with how God has used Paragon to accomplish that for us.
Our turnkey design-build model simplifies the process, saving both time and money, making transformative renovations possible, even for smaller churches. And we're not just talking about sanctuaries, but lobbies, gathering spaces, fellowship halls, children's spaces. It's all part of what we do every day here at Paragon 360, nationwide. So Paragon only works with big churches and big budgets? Let's just put that myth to bed. Bottom line, if we can bring value, we're in, no matter the size. We're in it to make you the hero. Let's build something incredible together. Let's grow your church and build the kingdom. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you on the next Paragon Angle.
Our main sponsor is Digital Great Commission Ministries. Whether you need help building a team, finding the right gear, or just better understanding the church tech world, DGCM is here for you. Because they are a 501c3 donor-sponsored organization, they come to your church for free and do an assessment of your tech, visitor engagement, and online streaming. Plus, we give away free gear. Be sure to go to audiovideolighting.com and register your email today. This will sign you up for all of the free giveaways and give you first access to everything we offer for free. If you want free resources, training, or consulting, contact Digital Great Commission Ministries today by going to audiovideolighting.com. That's audiovideolighting.com.
This podcast is brought to you by AC Lighting, world-class products with world-class service. aclighting.com.
We talked earlier about being one team, and you had a leader that came in at your church that helped organize it in a way where it was one team. But again, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of churches struggle with this. So what are some concepts that can help teams collaborate better between worship, leaders, pastors, and the tech team?
The biggest thing is adjusting the heart posture to be a true servant. And I think I did say this earlier, but leading with yes. It is the we is greater than me. These are all values that we as a church believe, and we're constantly putting them into practice.
Let me ask you something about that with the lead with yes, because I know a lot of technical people tend to go to the negative, right? And they'll say, well, I can't say yes to everything. Are you saying I have to say yes to everything? Is that what you're saying, Willow?
No, there are definitely some things where it's like, I don't have the bandwidth for this, but I also don't want to be a person that I'm immediately finding excuses as to why not. I don't want to be a person who's constantly trying to take the easy way out because it makes my job easier. There are times I absolutely cannot say yes to things just because I know my bandwidth. I know the bandwidth of my team, and we sometimes just can't make things happen, and that's okay. But we also want to be known as people where I don't want somebody to look at me and say, I don't want to ask her for something because I know she's going to say no. I want to be a teammate where I know others can be like, I'm going to ask her this, knowing that she's going to help me as much as she can, even though the answer may be no. I don't want to be somebody that people are afraid to approach because they're intimidated by. I want to be somebody that others can trust. And I think when you become somebody who leads with yes, it means that people can trust you and come to you with things. Doesn't mean the answer is always going to be yes. Doesn't mean you have to say yes to every single request. But don't be somebody that immediately shuts things down and says no.
Yeah, I like to say options. Offer options. You know, somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want to do this. And you're immediately like, wow, you want to fly a truck from the stage and you want to do it live. Okay. Yeah. What if... And lay out 2 or 3 different options. The first thing that does is it puts you in a posture of not saying no, not immediately going, no, we're not going to fly that truck. We're not going to do that thing. But here are some options. Hey, I want a choir and I want to have 150 microphones on my choir. Okay, well, that's going to cost us a lot of money. So here's a few other options. And you lay out some different approaches to it. I find that puts your heart in a posture of, I really want to work with you, but here's some obstacles I have to overcome. Can you help me overcome that? But doing that, Willow, requires some training, and we work with a lot of volunteers. So how do you train that? How do you train those responses into your team?
Again, I think one of the best ways to train is to lead with it. And I think we lead by example. So when it comes to, let's say I'm training a new volunteer, I think a lot of that is in the way that I, as a leader, model saying yes, and I model every role that I'm in. So whether I'm the front of house producer or I'm the director, making sure I'm leading with a collaborative approach instead of, nope, this is just my job. I'm just going to sit back and do my thing. I'm going to make sure I'm helping everybody succeed. So if my camera 3 operator is having a hard time, or they're struggling with their cable or their battery, I'm going to take a second out of what I am doing to make sure that this person is set up to win, instead of I'm just going to be okay with what I'm doing and they're going to figure it out. It's let me go help this person. I've noticed ever since we started reevaluating or redoing our team and the vision of our team, that the more that we as staff members have led with this, the more it's influenced a lot of our volunteers. One of the best things for me to witness is weekends where maybe somebody needs help on something and they're like, hey, can you come meet with me after this run through? I was struggling with my focus, or I was struggling with whatever it may be. The best thing for me to witness is before I could go over there, somebody else is already helping them. It's my volunteer director. It's the volunteer camera operator on a different camera. And watching and witnessing that is kind of the fruit of it. It's, we are a team. It is not my show. It is not this guy's show. It is, we are one team and we all want to come together to win. And I think, again, a lot of that is modeling.
Now, we don't want our team members to think all they are button pushers. We want them to, understand their role is more than that. But at the same time, we do have to perform a function, right? We do have to have a good video and good audio. So talk to me a little bit about your training programs and how you get people to the level where they can actually do some of these high level things that you guys do at your church.
Yeah. So one thing that I have been very grateful to have been a part of is the way that we have set up our onboarding process. And so we have new interests. We have them come sit in a service, watch a service, ask questions, and then we move on from there of, okay, is there a specific role or position you're interested in serving in? Then we move forward. Let's say it's camera training, because that's my specialty. We have a list of a few videos. One is a vision video, so it kind of shares what I was talking about earlier, the mission of our church, who we are, why we do what we do. We lead with that, and then we have another video that has the technical aspects of, hey, before you put your hands on a camera, let me tell you a few basics you need to know. And we've structured these videos in a way where you don't have to have any prior experience to understand what we're talking about. Because in our team, I would say probably about 80% of our team has never put their hands on a camera until they've joined our team. So we set it up in a way where even if you're somebody who has been doing this for a long time, you've been in the industry, you've been at other churches, we're still going to give you the same language as we would somebody who's never touched a camera before in their life. So from there, we do a lot of the technical language aspects. Here's what you're going to hear on a weekend. Here's how you zoom. Here's how you focus. Send them that stuff. So then when they come into train, it's not the first time that we're going over this. It's not the first time they're hearing us talk about how to focus, how to zoom. It's then just putting those things into application. From there, the first time that they're running a camera should be for one of our rehearsals. During that time, for new volunteers, I'll give them 3 ways that they can win. So here's shot 1. If you can give me this, you're in focus and you're steady, that's a win. Here's shot 2. Same thing. Here's shot 3. Shot 3 may be more complex. So it may be like a compound move of some sort where there's like a zoom or a tilt or whatnot. And then we move on from there. So if they nail those 3, then it's like, great, let me give you 3 more. And then from there on out, we put them on different cameras. We give them different ways that they can win. And then they're able to, no matter what camera they're put on or what position they're in, they should be able to walk in and kind of know the bullseyes of what a service should look like and the technical things that they should be doing each week to win. So that's kind of how we do the training portion of it.
3 ways to win. I really like that. I think if churches incorporated that, just 3 simple ways that you can give the director a win or whoever you're working with a win. I used to say, can you direct blindfolded? When we would teach our directors, we would say, can you direct blindfolded? And they'd always look at me funny. And I said, make it so simple for your camera operators that if you closed your eyes, you knew what camera 2 was going to be doing. You knew what camera 1 was going to be doing. Now, obviously, you can't direct blindfolded, but if you simplify it to that point, then it makes it easier on a volunteer who may not know that much. And you're putting them over on camera 1, they're the wide shot, and they're trying to do 18 things. We're like, no, give me the simple wide push. That's all I need. That's all I need. If I closed my eyes and I punched you up, you're doing a simple push and a simple pull. And I know that's where you're going to be. So in the heat of the moment, when I've got 18 cameras going on, like all the churches nowadays have 53 and a half cameras and they're doing Super Bowl shots, you know what camera 15 is doing. You just know it because you've simplified it to the point where you can literally direct blindfolded. And I really like the 3 ways to win. I think that's another strong way of teaching your team. But let me ask you this, Willow. What encouragement would you give to tech teams who feel unseen and undervalued? Now, here's why I'm asking that question. You work for a healthy church. Most of the churches I've worked with for and consult with are very healthy. But I've stepped into some churches that are not healthy, and the staff and the volunteers are beat down. They don't know what to do next. They feel undervalued. They feel unseen. And when I say the church is unhealthy, I don't mean it's toxic unhealthy. I just meant there's a lot going on. They don't have the money to hire people, things of that nature. So what encouragement would you give to those tech teams that feel unseen and undervalued?
The biggest thing is that God sees you, regardless of where you're at, what position you're in, whether you're at a big church or a small church, doing the biggest production or doing the smallest production. God sees you, and it is all about the heart. And if your heart is truly to serve, which a lot of production is just serving, because it's not a crowd-facing job. It is truly behind the scenes. God sees your heart, and God sees what you're putting into a service. And so we don't do this for the approval of man. We're doing this for the love and the worship of God. And so even though people can, sometimes overlook, or sometimes there's this disunity, or we may be talked to a certain way, God still sees us. God still sees our hearts. And I think that as long as your heart is in the right place, you're doing an absolutely amazing job, and it is enough. It is enough. And like I said, God just sees you regardless of what production, how big or how small, whether you're getting the approval or not, he sees, and that's what matters.
I would say this as well. You need to understand that live production, you will make mistakes. And I think a lot of churches and volunteers and even staff members, they go into the service thinking it needs to be perfect. And, that's a great place to try to shoot for, but it's just not going to happen in live production. I've been a part of some major secular productions where they have all the money in the world and they still make mistakes. It's just going to happen. And so you don't want to get discouraged by making the mistake. You want to learn from the mistake and get better from the mistake. And a matter of fact, a lot of churches I'll consult with, I'll say, what's your baseline for mistakes? And they'll say, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, how many mistakes do you make on an average weekend? And we have no clue. I said, well, then you don't know if this was a good weekend or a bad weekend. So I like to encourage people by saying, look, you're going to make mistakes. Just learn from those mistakes. Understand that you don't want to repeat them. You want to get better from them. But it's sometimes encouraging to them for them to hear, oh, like you make mistakes, like you worked for this big church and you guys made mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes. And it sounded like Willow when I said they're like, oh, absolutely. I mean, even Willow's church makes mistakes. Like things will happen. Don't get discouraged by those. Just learn from them. And it's good to have a system. Sometimes if you're in a church where it's just perfection, sometimes it's good to have a system, like I said, to understand what's your baseline for mistakes, kind of track them. I like to say audience notice mistakes. Nobody noticed that it was red or blue. They noticed that the mic wasn't on, right? So track the ones that are important and then talk them through each week, even if it's with yourself, and try to understand how you can get better for the next week. But it isn't for man. We are creating a worship service so that an atmosphere, if you want to put it that way, so that the Lord can come and move amongst his people. And he did that 2,000 years ago without any audio, video, or lighting. So you can create an atmosphere no matter how little tech you have or how big tech you have, if you want to look at it that way. But Willow, what's your favorite part of church tech? We kind of geek out on this stuff, so I'm curious what your favorite part is.
You mean something technical or just week to week?
I'm going to leave that up to you. What do you look forward to when you come on a Sunday? Is it switching? Is it directing? Is it the worship part? What is it you look forward to?
So when I attend, I love to watch the switching. That's the one thing I'm just always curious to see how other directors switch. And I wonder, why they're taking certain things, because I direct very differently than some of my other volunteers. But I think on a weekend when I'm serving, what excites me the most, and this is so nerdy and random, I love assigning the cameras. I love assigning the camera operators. because I kind of know where everybody's at. And I'm like, this is a good challenge for this person this weekend. Let's try this. And knowing how I'm going to have to work with them that weekend. And maybe it's, their first time picking up our camera 5. And they each have their own different assignments of what they're supposed to get. But I love watching our volunteers step into different roles and then seeing how they develop in that role. And it's fun for me to then realize this person really likes this camera and they're actually really good at this one. And they may not realize it. So it's fun to kind of place them in those spots and be like, hey, you're killing it in this role, whether you think so or not. And then the other side of it, and this is more of the relational, we've walked through a few volunteers who, I think sometimes they wear their performance too much. And we've had to have those deeper conversations of, this is not about you, and having those very deep conversations of, you came in and you did your best today, even if there was a mistake or two made, or this wasn't your best run. However, I love those conversations because it takes it more from a running, like the how to run something, to the why we do what we do. And it kind of flips that conversation from a technical aspect to a global aspect, and the heart behind it. And I think sometimes those are my favorite weekends when I have those conversations, because it feels like we're pushing the absolute mission.
Yeah, short steps, long vision. I think working with the team and helping them understand, hey, take the next little step, but have a long vision for where you're trying to go. I want to ask you this question. Talent assessment, you kind of hit on it a little bit there, and as one of the favorite things that you like to see in terms of knowing where people are at with their technical journey, not only the spiritual journey, but their technical journey. Do you have any steps or anything you can tell other churches that help you talent assess your camera operators or those in different positions?
I think a lot of it is give people the time to try out different positions and don't just throw them there without training or giving them the 3 ways to win. Give them those ways, help them to achieve them, and see how they grow with that. Because I found some people are way better at subtle moves, where some people are, and I mean like subtle moves with camera, whereas some people are way more, they like to do like focus racks and rolls. They know the songs very well. And so they're creative. They're creative. Yes, they know the songs. They know how to use their talents to build on the story that we're trying to tell with worship. And not everybody has that, and not everybody is wired the same way. And I don't think we can expect everybody to be wired the same way. We are teaching people in the process, because we've had a lot of people that are not creative. But we also have had people that are creative step into the roles of cameras. And so they have different strengths and weaknesses. I can't expect this super creative camera operator A to be exactly like camera operator B, who is not creative whatsoever. But they both have a place, and they both have their strengths and their weaknesses. And I'm going to help put them in places where I know they can win. And I think, again, that just goes back to knowing your team and knowing your people.
Can a lead singer play drums, play the bass, play the electric guitar? Can they do all those things? I mean, there's some that can. I worked with Cody Carnes once and just blew me away. We actually did an event with him where he was doing drums, singing, and playing keyboard all at the same time. But for the most part, a good lead singer doesn't necessarily play drums. A good drummer doesn't necessarily sing. And I think what you're saying is it's the same with the tech team. You're going to have people that are really good at a certain function, but they're not good at another function. And at the end of the day, it's all about people, right? It's all about understanding who your team is, understanding who they are. You got a center on a basketball team that performs a certain function different from the shooting guard. And if you reverse those, they will struggle at both positions. But if you get them in the right position, they will do an amazing job. And for me, talent assessment is about figuring out how to get people into the right positions. And that doesn't happen overnight. I mean, sometimes they have to do something they're not good at to figure out what they're good at. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said, hey, you just have to understand this person's creative. This person likes to do this differently. And then how does that fit with your style too when you're directing? That's actually a good question. So when you direct, you're different from, say, another director that's directing. So How does that work when you switch out different directors in terms of their different talents?
So we train directors in a way where right now I'm the one training our different directors, and I have them sit with me, and I'll call a service, and it's kind of like right now our director and our technical director are the same person. But when I'm training people, they are the technical director and I'm the director, and it's to get the pacing down.
You split them apart.
Right. It's to get the pacing. We're taking this shot at this point, and we get us as close together as possible because we don't want it to feel very obvious when it's somebody else directing. We want it to feel as cohesive and as Hope Fellowship as possible. And so there have been some habits that I've had to break because when talking to my leadership, it's been like, hey, here are the things that we want to see. And so it's broken some habits for me, and it's having the same conversation with others. It's not a me show. I'm not just sitting there like, this is how we direct, because some of my guys direct a little bit differently than I do. But ultimately, we have a few bullseyes of if you can hit these things as a director, you're going to win. And so it's like for us, it's getting back to the lead at the start of a line. It is being intentional about when we're taking instruments. It is keeping the lead singer the primary for the whole time. If somebody's not singing, don't take them live. Do not take a shot when it's not ready, when the camera operator is not ready. And I mean, as long as we follow these things, and of course, nailing our transitions, that's the other piece of it, a big giveaway. If we can follow these things, then we're cohesive. And there are small things here and there of I'm going to fade to this shot versus I'm going to cut to this shot that don't really matter, because ultimately I'm going to direct very different than the guy next week. And as long as we're still nailing these few things that we set our Hope Fellowship, then we're winning and we're accomplishing the mission.
So Willow, I didn't prep you with this question, but I do want to throw it at you. So you're young, you work at an up and coming church, and you're a lady. I think most tech departments are mostly men, and sometimes older men. How do you deal with that dynamic at your church in terms of being a young lady kind of working in a technical, which traditionally has been kind of a male dominated environment? How do you navigate that at your church? Because I know there's a lot of young ladies out there, and ladies, by the way, are really good at the creative and the video and even the audio pieces of it and the lighting pieces of it. Ladies are very good at this. And I'm just curious for all those young ladies that are watching and listening, how you navigate that at your church.
So when I started, I was, I think to give a little background, so I grew up with all sisters, so I was always with girls. And then when I was in high school, I was a trumpet player, so I was with all boys because it was a very male-dominated environment there too. And that was a weird transition for me, and so was going into a male-dominated production field as well. But it never scared me off because I knew that everybody has something different to bring to the table. And there was a volunteer camera operator that had done my job. He's now retired, but he had done my job 20, 30 years ago. And he was so nice in the way that he talked to our female volunteers and talked to me, and that he was like, sometimes I've found that the ladies have a great eye, whereas some of our guys don't. And not that that's true for every single case, but I have found that sometimes when I'm training my female camera operators, they just have a natural eye for things that sometimes I just have to train the males on a little bit longer. And again, that's not always the case, but I have found that sometimes girls just see things a little bit differently than guys. And I think that's the cool, unique thing about having both sides come in, because we bring in different perspectives and we can learn from each other a lot. And I've been very grateful to be in an environment that doesn't make me feel any less than as a female. It was intimidating for me at first when I came in and there were no females on the team, but when I joined the team, there was an influx of female camera operators that came in too. It was almost like they saw, oh, women can do this. And so then they started joining, and they've brought so many unique, creative new things to the team. And I think if you're a young female out there, I know it's easier said than done to not be afraid, but you may see something or have a talent that the church absolutely needs. And don't be afraid of it because you're young. I mean, the Bible says, don't be afraid because you're young, but don't be afraid because you're female. We all have something unique that God's wired us with to bring to the table. And I think we should not let fear rule our ability to join or to not. Just let the gifts of God come through and allow him to use that.
Yeah, step up and do it, Willow. That's well said, well said. Well, you've provided us with some great insights. And if there's someone out there who wants to get in touch with you, Willow, how do they do that?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. It's at Willow Presley. I usually post directing videos there. My DMs are open, and I'm more than welcome to chat.
So to find out more about Willow, her church, and to see some cool videos, hit her up at Willow Presley on Instagram. Willow, you got some great videos on there. I saw the one, I think it was the best of 2024. And so I probably laughed for 5 minutes when that audio started feeding back and you were like, oh, like your face, what's going on? What's going on? But then some of the moments that you posted in that same reel, I can't remember if it was a reel or a story or what it was, but just some cool content that you put up there, some great moments from your church. It's a very inspiring Instagram channel, so go check it out at Willow Presley on Instagram. Willow, thank you for coming on the Tech Arts Podcast and talking to us about our technical instruments of worship.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that wraps things up for today's episode. I can't wait to talk to you on the next Tech Arts Podcast. Until then, I'm David Leuschner, signing off by wishing you a great day and praying God blesses every moment of your week. See you soon.
You have been listening to the Tech Arts Podcast, presented by Digital Great Commission Ministries. DGCM is a 501c3 nonprofit that was started to help churches with all things technical. Whether you need help building a team, finding the right gear, or just a better understanding of the church tech world, DGCM is here for you. Find out more about our free on-site visits, reports, and consulting by going to audiovideolighting.com. Digital Great Commission Ministries will help you run your church service like a pro. Find out more at audiovideolighting.com.
From sold-out stadiums to intimate live performance venues, sound engineers agree on one thing for the best digital mixing consoles for live sound. The only name that matters is Digico. As the recognized worldwide standard for live audio mixing, Digico consoles are renowned for their industry-leading sound quality and ease of use. Whether your application is in a church, broadcast, theater, corporate, sports, or installed sound, Digico offers compact and affordable products. From the S21 all the way up to the pioneering power of the Quantum 852, Digico delivers the workflow, the feature set, and the absolute reliability that the world's biggest tours and programs have come to rely upon. If you're looking for a sound console, look to Digico for your answer. For more information on Digico, go to digico.biz. That's digico.biz.
This podcast is brought to you by AC Lighting, world-class products with world-class service. aclighting.com.
From front of house to center stage, for over 25 years, Earthworks microphones have sculpted the sounds of your favorite concerts, venues, and performances. Earthworks Audio is a sponsor of the Tech Arts Podcast. We are so happy to have them on board and excited to promote the new Earthworks SR117 vocal mic and capsules. To find out more about Earthworks Audio or to get your hands on this mic, go to earthworksaudio.com. That's earthworksaudio.com. Capturing emotion with sound. earthworksaudio.com.